The sky over Karos 9 was always gray. Smoke from burning cities mixed with the heavy clouds, turning day into something dull and tired. Sergeant Aaron Hale moved through the ruins with slow, careful steps, his rifle held low but ready. He had been fighting for 3 years, and worlds like this had become familiar. Broken streets, silent buildings, too many memories. The war between humans and the alien Karathi had begun far from here, over borders and fear and old mistakes. No one remembered the first shot anymore. Only the fighting remained. Aaron's unit had been ordered to cover an evacuation. Civilians, human scientists, and workers were being pulled off the planet. The Karathi were advancing faster than expected. Air support was gone. Retreat was already late. Then the ambush came. Blue energy fire cut through the street. 2 soldiers fell before Aaron could shout a warning. He returned fire, dragging 1 wounded man behind a fallen transport. The radio screamed with broken messages. Orders overlapped. Someone shouted that the evac ships were gone. Within minutes, it was over. Aaron was the last one standing. A shock baton struck his back, and the world went dark. When he woke, he expected pain or death. Instead, he found himself bound, sitting upright, inside a smooth white chamber. The air smelled clean. Too clean for a battlefield. Karathi soldiers stood around him. They were taller than humans, their skin pale gray with faint lines that glowed softly when they moved. Their eyes were dark and unblinking. Cold, Aaron kept his face calm. Fear helped no one. "You are a prisoner," one of them said through a translator. "You will comply." Aaron said nothing. Instead of a cell, they marched him through a wide underground structure. This was no military base. The walls were curved and decorated with strange symbols. Soft light filled the halls. He heard quiet sounds, movement, soft voices. A shelter, he realized. A civilian shelter. They stopped before a sealed door. The alien commander turned to him. "You will stand here," the commander said. "You will not move unless ordered." "A guard?" Aaron asked before he could stop himself. The commander's eyes narrowed slightly. "You are a symbol. A defeated enemy made to serve." Ah! The door opened. Inside were alien civilians, smaller Karathi, elders, and children. They fell silent when Aaron entered. Fear spread through the room like a wave. Some pulled their children close. Others stared at him with open hatred. Aaron's jaw tightened. He had guarded civilians before, human ones. This felt worse. He was placed near the center of the shelter. No restraints now, but weapons pointed at him from every angle. He stood still, breathing slowly, eyes forward. Time passed. The shelter shook once, then again. Distant explosions rolled through the walls. Dust drifted from the ceiling. An alarm sounded, loud, sharp. The Karathi soldiers shouted orders. Civilians panicked. The door behind Aaron exploded inward. Smoke and debris filled the room. Screams echoed. A rebel group, Karathi extremists, who opposed any sheltering of civilians, poured in, firing wildly. They did not care who they hit. Aaron moved before thinking. A small alien child had fallen near his feet, knocked down by the blast. The child tried to crawl away, limbs shaking, eyes wide with terror. A rebel raised a weapon. Aaron stepped forward and threw himself over the child. Energy fire slammed into his back. Pain exploded through him, hot and sharp. He gritted his teeth and stayed there. Arms spread wide. Body curled protectively around the small form beneath him. More shots hit him. He screamed once, then bit it back. The child clung to his chest, making a small, frightened sound. "Stay down," Aaron whispered, though he knew the child could not understand the words. The rebels were driven back by security forces moments later. The shooting stopped as suddenly as it had begun. Smoke cleared slowly. Aaron felt hands pulling at him, trying to move him away. He refused to move until someone pried his fingers loose. When they rolled him over, blood soaked his uniform. His vision blurred. The ceiling lights stretched into long white lines. Across the room, an alien woman stood frozen. She was taller than the others, her posture straight despite the chaos. Her eyes were locked on Aaron. On her child, now safely held by a medic. She had seen everything. She stepped forward slowly, ignoring the soldiers who tried to stop her. She knelt beside Aaron, her hands trembling as she looked at his injuries. He protected the child, someone said, disbelief clear in their voice. That was the enemy. Another whispered. Aaron tried to speak, but darkness closed in. The last thing he saw was the alien woman's eyes no longer cold, but burning with something he had never seen in a Karathi before. Shock, and something close to awe. Then everything went black. When Sergeant Aaron Hale woke again, the first thing he felt was warmth. Not heat, gentle warmth, steady and controlled. It wrapped around his body like thick air. The second thing he felt was pain, deep and heavy, but no longer sharp. The kind of pain that meant he was still alive. He opened his eyes slowly. The ceiling above him was smooth and curved, glowing with a soft blue light. Strange symbols moved across it like slow water. Tubes and thin wires were attached to his arms and chest. Pulsing faintly, a low hum filled the room. An alien medical ward. Aaron tried to move. His body refused. Do not struggle. The voice was calm, filtered through a translator. He turned his head slightly and saw two Karathi medics standing nearby. Their long fingers moved quickly over a floating display. Their eyes watched him closely, not with hatred, but with focus. He is awake, one of them said. Aaron swallowed. His throat felt dry. How long? 31 cycles since injury, the medic replied. You should be dead. Aaron gave a weak smile. I hear that a lot. The medics did not smile back. Across the room, behind a clear barrier, soldiers stood guard. But something was different. Their weapons were lowered. Their posture was tense, uncertain. Aaron felt it then. The silence was not hostile. It was uncomfortable. News of what he had done had spread fast. In another chamber, deeper in the shelter, a council had gathered. Karathi leaders, military commanders, and civilian authorities argued in low, sharp voices. He acted on instinct, one commander said. It means nothing. It means everything, another replied. He chose to protect a Karathi child. He is the enemy. He is a human. Silence followed that word. Among them stood the alien woman from the shelter. Her name was Salith. She was not only a mother, she was a voice-bearer. A leader trusted to speak for entire civilian regions. Her status carried weight, even among warriors. My child lives because of him, Salith said. Her voice did not shake. I saw it with my own eyes. He placed his body between her and death. A tactic, someone argued. A deception. Salith's eyes hardened. Then explain why he remained after the threat ended. Explain why he took multiple strikes meant for her. No one answered. He broke no law, Salith continued, but he shattered an assumption. That unsettled them more than any crime. Back in the medical ward, Aaron drifted in and out of sleep. Each time he woke, he sensed movement nearby. Someone watching. Eventually, he opened his eyes and saw her. Salith stood beside his bed, separated by the barrier. Her presence filled the room. She did not wear armor. Her clothing marked her as civilian, but the way others moved aside for her told another story. Aaron met her gaze without speaking. She raised one hand slowly, palm open, a Karathi gesture of non-threat. You protected my child, she said. Aaron's voice was weak. She was right there. That was enough for you? Salith asked. An enemy child? He thought for a moment. She was a child. The translator repeated the words perfectly. Salith closed her eyes briefly. When she opened them, something had changed. In the days that followed, Aaron healed under constant watch. Alien medicine was advanced, precise. It repaired bone and tissue with quiet efficiency. But it could not repair the tension growing around him. Civilians whispered when they passed his ward. Some looked at him with fear, others with curiosity, a few with something close to respect. The military did not know what to do with him. Killing him now would raise questions. Releasing him would show weakness. Holding him meant admitting he mattered. Then came the extremists. They struck during a routine power cycle, slipping through service tunnels known only to those who hated the shelter system. Their goal was simple: erase the symbol. Aaron sensed danger before the alarms sounded. Years of war had taught him that. The first explosion rocked the medical wing. Lights flickered, screams followed. The barrier around Aaron's bed dropped as systems failed. He tried to sit up, pain flaring, but his legs gave out. He fell hard onto the floor. Footsteps approached. Fast, angry, a Karathi extremist stepped into the room. Weapon raised, eyes burning with certainty. Human. The alien hissed. You should not exist. Before the trigger could fire, a command rang out. Stop. Salith stepped between them. The extremist froze, shock flashing across his face. Voicebearer, move. He is a threat. So are you, Salith replied calmly. Guards rushed in seconds later, disarming and restraining the attacker. The danger passed, but the message was clear. Aaron was no longer just a prisoner. He was a problem. That same cycle, Salith invoked an ancient law. It had not been spoken aloud in generations. Before the council, before military command, she stood tall. By the right of preserved life, she declared. The one who saves a child of our people with no expectation of reward creates a bond. A claim of protection and honor. Gasps echoed through the chamber. The human is under my claim, Salith continued. Harm to him is harm to me. To act against him is to violate our deepest law. The commanders protested. The council argued, but law was law, and it had been spoken by a witness who could not be ignored. When Aaron was told, he did not understand at first. Claimed? He asked quietly. Yes, Salith said. Not as property. As proof. Proof of what? That even in war, she said, choice still exists. Aaron leaned back against the wall, exhaustion washing over him. I didn't do it for laws. I know, Salith replied. Outside the shelter, the war still burned. But inside, something had shifted. For the first time, both sides were afraid not of weapons or fleets, but of what one human choice might change next. Sergeant Aaron Hale was no longer kept behind barriers. That fact alone changed everything. When he walked through the shelter halls now, guards still followed him. But they no longer aimed their weapons. Civilians did not flee at the sight of him. Some still watched with fear, but others paused, whispered, or bowed their heads slightly. The shelter had learned his name. The war outside had not stopped. Distant explosions still shook the ground. Reports of battles and losses still flowed in. But inside the shelter, Aaron had become something rare, an exception. Salith kept her word. Under Karathi law, her claim protected Aaron completely. No soldier could harm him. No extremist could touch him without challenging ancient tradition. Even the highest commanders had to acknowledge it. Though many did so with anger behind their eyes, Aaron did not enjoy the protection. Every time he passed wounded civilians, every time he heard the sounds of children crying in the lower levels, the weight pressed on him. His people were still fighting, still dying, and he was walking freely among the enemy. One cycle, Salith invited him to walk with her. They moved through a quiet observation hall, where the walls opened into a wide window showing the ruined city above. Smoke rose in slow columns. Fires burned without sound. You feel divided, Salith said. Aaron did not deny it. My unit is probably gone. My world is far away, and somehow, I'm here. You chose to protect a life, she said. Choice creates direction. He looked at her. Your people are still attacking mine, and yours are attacking mine, Salith replied. That truth has trapped us both. They stopped near the window. Below, Karathi civilians moved through broken streets under guard, relocating supplies. This war did not begin as you believe, Salith said quietly. Aaron turned toward her. What do you mean? She hesitated, then continued. Years ago, a human exploration fleet entered a restricted system. Our warning signals were misread as navigation data. When our patrol moved to intercept, your fleet panicked and fired. Aaron frowned. We were told your ships attacked without warning. That is the tragedy, Salith said. Both sides believed the other chose violence first. Aaron felt something twist in his chest. So millions died because of a mistake. Yes, the silence that followed was heavy. If this truth became known, Aaron said slowly, it could change things. It could. Salith agreed. Or it could be buried. As uncomfortable truths often are. From that moment, Aaron understood why Salith had claimed him. He was not a soldier anymore. He was a bridge. Days passed. Then weeks. Aaron was invited to sit in council chambers, not as a prisoner, but as an observer. He listened as Karathi leaders debated strategy, resources, and public fear. He learned their language better. He learned how much the war had damaged them too. He spoke only when asked. And when he did, he spoke plainly. I don't know your politics, he told them once. But I know humans. If they learn this war started from a mistake, many will stop fighting. Many will not, a commander replied. True, Aaron said. But wars don't end because everyone agrees. They end when enough people do. That answer spread through the chamber like a ripple. Not all welcomed his presence. Some saw him as manipulation, others as weakness. But none could deny that the shelter was quieter now, less tense. Children played again in the lower levels. The child he had protected often watched him from a distance, curiosity slowly replacing fear. One day, she approached him. She held out a small, carved token smooth stone shaped like a shield. Aaron knelt and accepted it carefully. Protector, she said in her simple voice. The word struck deeper than any metal ever had. The next turning point came suddenly. A major Karathi fleet was preparing to strike a human stronghold. Intelligence suggested it would break human resistance in the sector. Victory was close. Salith requested a delay. She stood before the High Command and placed all her authority on the line. Grant me one cycle, she said. Allow the human to speak to his people. Outrage followed. A single human will not stop a fleet, one leader said. He already stopped a blade meant for my child. Salith replied. Do not underestimate what humans will do when given truth. Quote, against all expectation, the fleet was delayed. Aaron was given access to a long-range transmission system, heavily monitored, heavily restricted. He knew it might be the only chance he would ever get. He spoke to a human command relay. He did not plead. He did not accuse. He told the story of the first encounter. Of the misread signals. Of the choice that started the war. He spoke of the shelter. Of children hiding from bombs. Of an alien mother who stood between him and death because of a choice he made. This war doesn't have to end in victory, he said. It can end in understanding, but only if we choose it. The transmission ended. Hours passed. Then a message arrived. Human command requested talks. Real talks. The galaxy seemed to hold its breath. Negotiations began under tense conditions. Aaron stood beside Salith, not as a prisoner, not as a soldier, but as a witness. Human diplomats listened, shocked by evidence long buried. Karathi leaders faced their own past decisions. It was not peace, but it was a ceasefire. Outside the shelter, the guns fell silent for the first time in years. When it was over, Salith turned to Aaron. You may return to your people, she said. They will call you a hero. Maida. Aaron looked toward the city, toward the shelter, toward the child holding her stone shield. And if I stay? He asked. Salith studied him. Then you help us make sure this mistake never happens again. Aaron exhaled slowly. For the first time since the war began, he felt something unfamiliar, hope, and with it, the weight of a choice that would shape more than just his own future. The ceasefire held. That alone felt unreal. For the first time in years, the skies above Karos 9 were quiet. No fighters screamed through the clouds. No artillery shook the ground. Smoke still rose from old fires, but no new ones were born. The silence felt fragile, like glass that could shatter with one wrong word. Sergeant Aaron Hale stood on a high platform overlooking the city ruins. He wore no armor now, only simple clothing provided by the Karathi. His scars remained, reminders of how close death had come. He touched one absently as he watched repair crews move through the streets below. He had chosen to stay, not forever but long enough. Salith joined him, her steps calm, measured. She had aged in the weeks since the ceasefire began. Or perhaps the weight she carried was simply more visible now. "You could have left today," she said. "The transport is ready." "I know," Aaron replied. Soon. They stood together in silence. The negotiations were not easy. Some human leaders demanded apologies. Some Karathi commanders demanded guarantees. Old anger surfaced again and again, threatening to tear the talks apart. More than once, extremists on both sides tried to sabotage the process. Each time, Aaron stepped forward not as a commander, but as proof. Proof that choices mattered. He spoke when talks stalled. He reminded both sides what silence sounded like after the guns stopped. He reminded them of children who had learned the shape of fear too early. Slowly, painfully, agreements formed. Borders were redrawn, shared zones established, independent observers allowed. The war did not end with celebration, but it ended. The official declaration came quietly. No fireworks, no cheers, just a message transmitted across human and Karathi space at the same moment. The conflict is concluded. Across the shelter, civilians paused in their work. Some cried. Others simply sat down, overwhelmed. Children who had never known peace asked why the adults were so quiet. Aaron felt his knees weaken when he heard it. He sat on the floor and pressed his hands together, head bowed. He had survived battles, capture, pain, but this was different. This was release. Later that cycle, Salith called a gathering. Civilians, soldiers, council members, all filled the central hall. At the center stood Aaron, uncertain, uncomfortable with attention. Salith raised her voice. "By ancient law, I claim this human under the right of preserved life," she said. Many misunderstood this act. She turned toward Aaron. "This was never ownership," she continued. "It was recognition." Murmurs spread through the hall. "He stood between death and a child not of his species," Salith said. "Not for reward, not for honor, but because he chose to." She faced the crowd fully now. "Let it be known, the claim ends today." A ripple of surprise followed. "But the meaning does not," she said. "This human is released not as a subject, but as an equal witness to what we can become." Salith bowed her head to Aaron. The hall followed. Aaron stood frozen, unsure what to do. Finally, he bowed back, awkward, human, honest. After the gathering, the child found him. She was braver now. Her steps were steady as she walked up and pressed the stone shield into his hand again. "For you," she said. "So you remember." Aaron knelt. "I won't forget." When the day came for him to leave, the shelter gathered once more. The transport waited above, engines humming softly. Salith walked with him to the boarding ramp. "You changed us," she said. Aaron shook his head. "You were already capable of change." She studied him. "What will your people say?" "Some will believe me," he replied. "Some won't. But stories travel faster than orders." She placed a hand over her chest, a gesture of respect. "If the galaxy watches humans now," she said, "it will not be for your weapons." Aaron smiled faintly. "Good." Before he boarded, he looked back once more. The child raised her hand and waved. The ramp closed. The transport lifted into the quiet sky. Months later, on Earth, Aaron testified before councils and assemblies. His words were recorded, shared, debated. He did not become a politician. He refused offers of rank and power. Instead, he returned to training new soldiers. He taught them how to fight, but more importantly, he taught them when not to. Across the stars, Karathi records were updated, new protocols written, shelters redesigned not just for safety, but for shared understanding. And in whispered conversations across many worlds, a new truth spread. Humans were dangerous, not because they were unstoppable, but because even in war, even when broken and bleeding, a human might still choose to protect a stranger's child. And that choice could end a war,